is the creepiest unexplained experience you ever had. When my son was about 2 or 3, he wouldn't go to sleep, so I let him in my bed. My husband was asleep, so I told my boy he had to look at his books quietly while I read mine. He was good for a bit, but then he started reading the book. Actually, reading the words out loud. Slowly. He couldn't read, and it was a newer book we hadn't read to him yet. It wasn't memorization. I asked him how he knew what it said, and he replied, "My friend John is telling me." Scared the shit out of me. The boy. I think I've shared this story here before, but when I was around 9 or 10 years old, my family had a big family reunion at my great-aunt's house, a giant Victorian-era mansion with a huge backyard. I remember there was nobody there my age, and all the adults eventually became drunk. So I wandered around the house and quickly found the upstairs library that I thought was neat, because it also had a back hallway with a tiny bedroom and full bathroom, probably the nanny's quarters back in the day. I remember I was sitting on the library rug, I think playing with a black and gold check printing machine, when a kid in the hallway suddenly said, "You're not supposed to play with guns, Bill." I wasn't playing with guns, and my name wasn't Bill. I thought, cool, another kid my age. I looked back and didn't see anything. Then I hopped up and went around the door, but he was gone. I went down the stairs and found my mom and asked if she had seen a kid my age. She said no. I looked all around, and there was nobody there my age. Then when I was a late teenager, my mother told me that her father, Bill, who had died before I was born, had killed his friend with a gun accidentally when he was 13 in that house. Nobody ever talked about it in the family. Fast forward 40 years later, I was now driving my great-aunt, Bill's sister, who had stayed in that house until she was 90, back to her assisted living apartment, age 105 now. I asked where Bill had shot that kid, and she said in the upstairs library. The new home. I was 18, and my brother Chris was 16. I also have a brother, James, who was 5 at the time. We had just moved into an older house that used to be 3 apartments. We just about finished unpacking, and we designated rooms. James's room was directly above the living room with the staircase. James went up to discover his new room, and Chris and I took a short walk around the neighborhood. We got back and were sitting in the living room, just talking. My mom says she's going to get pizza for dinner, and leaves. She took a fairly long time, which is normal for her. I think she really enjoys the small breaks she gets when she can leave the house without James, and I never object to babysitting. Besides, James is plenty occupied with his new room. Chris and I are just talking in the living room. James is super excited about his new bedroom. We hear him running and stomping around upstairs, opening and closing doors. Sometimes he slams the doors pretty hard, but whatever, he's a kid. I assumed he fell asleep since the noise stopped eventually. I hear my mom's car pull up. I get up to meet her in the kitchen. My mom comes in, carrying soda. James follows directly behind her, carrying the food, yelling, "Pizza! Time!" She took him with her to get dinner, confirmed by my mom. Chris and I just looked at each other, taking too long to comprehend what was happening. I lived in that house for 4 years, and that was the only time something really freaked me out.